For the Emperor! Hello dear viewers, and welcome to another video from this here old dwarf. Today I'll be taking a look at the game Boltgun. Boltgun is a retro first-person shooter game in the setting of Warhammer 40,000, released in May of 2023. It was developed by Auric Digital and published by Focus Entertainment. This is the third game I've talked about in the Warhammer 40k universe, with the other two being the action game Space Marine and ARPG Inquisitor Martyr, which you can hopefully see on the screen somewhere now. If I could quickly say that if you enjoy the videos I do here in the Ancient Hold, then perhaps subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up and leave a comment about your own crusade against the Chaos Filth. The Warhammer 40,000 universe, with all the Space Marines and Orcs and Chaos and constant war, is inevitably a great setting for a first-person shooter. In Boltgun you take on the role of a Space Marine from the Ultramarine chapter, 13th Legion of the first founding by the Emperor himself. The game is set on the Forge world of Graia, a few years after the events of the game Space Marine. Chaos has reared its ugly head once more and has arrived on the planet through newly created warp rifts. It is up to you, Malum Kaido, Stern Guard veteran, to draw on the Emperor's might and push back the forces of Chaos. A first-person shooter this is indeed, but not of modern graphics and intent. Boltgun's graphical style is a throwback to some of the old classic first-person shooters from the 90s, like Doom or Duke Nukem, with pixelated graphics and two-dimensional sprites. Not only that, but the game is full of secrets to find and door keys to collect, just like in the old days. It works really well as an example of wonderful pixel art and sprite work. The weapons you use look chunky and cool and resemble what they look like in lore and on the miniatures. The enemy sprites look great, harking back to the old times while fully resembling characters they are based on. A Chaos Space Marine of the Black Legion looks like they should, and the various cultists do too. The demons of Chaos resemble those on the tabletop. As it apes the style of those old games, the scenery, the structures, the rocks and such look like old res FPS games and fit into the style of the gameplay completely. This is supposed to be a throwback to those older times, plus the developers have their own style and flair and it works really well. Obviously, if you're one for lifelike, cutting-edge graphics, then perhaps you will not like this game. But if you play it for a while, you will likely forget all about that. It is clear there was a lot of love put into this artistic design. Not only is it retro, it has taken a style and created a vibrant and interesting world. Unleashing the Emperor's wrath upon the unholy forces of Chaos provide hilarious results, with Chaos cultists being turned to viscera and demons being blown to smithereens in wonderfully pixelated explosions of blood and gore. It feels like there were some points taken from brutal Doom here, with the sheer amount of stuff insta-gibbing all over the place. The sound design in Boltgun is done really well, and that is very important in a game like this. When you're blasting away bad guys with a twice-blessed Holy Bolter, the feedback has to be crisp and visceral. The firing of the weapons and the churning of the chainsaw has to feel good, and gratefully that is the case here. The aforementioned bolter and heavy bolter thud into the foes as you dispense with heretics, feeling impactful and fun to fire off. There's also shouts which Malum will roar when prompting, helping to drive in the weight of the Emperor's justice.
I will wade through the blood of our enemies.
The general gameplay here, as I've already mentioned, is very similar to those old classics, before modern warfares and such. You must traverse the map of any given level, destroying the enemies the game throws at you, or looking for secrets that are sprinkled all over the map. You'll need to locate keys which allow you to access through their associated coloured doors, pick up power-ups that make you into an unstoppable beast. A lot of that stuff you might miss from the old days is here in this game. It can be a little painful losing your way, forgetting where a coloured door was, but usually after a little looking around you can find where you're meant to go. It also takes some cues from the modern iterations of Doom, with the set-piece death arenas, which will have you running around doing laps or holed up in a corner as the denizens of the warp and vile chaos worshippers converge on your location. You will need to kill all of the bad guys here before you can proceed. This is all well and good, but you do get that sense once you come across a large empty area full of pickups that you're about to engage in another big rumble, waiting for them to spawn rather than an older approach of dumping you into a room full of mobs out of nowhere. The pickups are plentiful in the game. Like Doom, you have armour as well as health, offering 2 layers of protection before a vengeful hero is driven to the ground. You'll come across red pickups all over the place which increase your health by 2, and small armour bits that will do the same. These can be found pre-located on a given map, usually along lines you'll take through the level, as well as drops from blowing away the foul machinations of chaos. There are larger power-ups too, which are in preset locations. Besides this are rarer power-ups like the Emperor's Visage, which increases their maximum armour by 300, or the Aura of Doom, which increases all your damage done and reduces that which you take. The variety of demons and other bad guys you come across increases with each level you progress to, getting tougher and harder hitting. Interestingly, a lot of the demons are visages of Tzeentch, including pink horrors that split into blue horrors, like in the lore, and flamers and screamers too. You even bump into a Lord of Change, a greater demon of the Changer of Ways. Grandfather Nurgle is also represented here, with the annoying Nurglings pestering you no end, or the extremely annoying Plague Toads. You will even come across a great unclean one or two. Besides the demons are the mortal servants of chaos. The most common fodder in the game, the human cultists, will feel your wrath most often, littering levels with their heresy. They are easy to dispatch and don't pose a huge threat to an angel of death. There are a few of them that carry higher strength weapons which, left unchecked, can bring down even your superhuman self. Perhaps most dangerous of all your foes will be the Traitor Astartes, those space marines who have turned their back on the guiding light of the Emperor. Sadly, there are several legions and chapters that have turned traitor, but in Boltgun, the most notorious Black Legion space marines will be your foe. They are the former sons of Horus, infused with evilry and malignant intent. These enemies are much like you, superhuman space marines, and will require great effort to dispatch just a single one of them, let alone 2 or 3. Interestingly, they make use of the strength and toughness of the values found in the tabletop game. Your weapons will have a strength value, and each mob you target will have a toughness value. Higher toughness enemies will take less damage from lower strength weapons, and more from higher strength ones. It is cool to see something like this, but it didn't really add too much to the gameplay, as this is the usual for FPS games in my experience. Stronger enemies require bigger guns. The weaponry that our brave son of Ultramar wields are many and varied. You'll begin with a Sacred Bolter, which is similar to an assault rifle, but firing bolts to smite thy foe rather than bullets. Through your missions you will find weapons like the shotgun, plasma gun, melter gun, a heavy bolter, and even a gravity cannon. The weapons feel great to fire, with the main game loop of running around blasting enemies being good fun indeed. The amount of ammo pickups littering the levels allows you to unleash great sways of death to the Emperor's foes without worrying about conserving ammo due to scarcity. The variety is decent, allowing you to mix things up, switching between weapons with ease. Just like the oldies, you can carry every weapon and not just have to pick up from a couple at a time. For you are a superhuman soldier, of course you can carry all you need to mete out holy retribution on behalf of the Imperium. I should probably talk about your melee weapon. From the get-go you gain access to the venerable chainsword. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It is a chainsaw, but it's a sword. Realism and practicalities aside, you can make use of this as you terrifyingly shed through any that stands before the might of the Emperor. Indeed, some mobs are easier to dispatch with this weapon, while also it can be very handy to finish off a stronger foe should they stray into melee range. There are 3 main chapters, each featuring numerous missions each, with the last of which featuring a grand boss battle. The locations thankfully change as you progress through the missions, from Imperial Bastions and Mechanicus Forges to desert canyons, great forges, and the crazy mind-bending fortresses of Tzeentch himself. Each mission took me roughly 25 to 30 minutes each on hard difficulty. At the end of chapter 2 I switched down to medium. I was getting a little too anxious while playing. The last boss felt ridiculously difficult, so much so that I put on invincibility mode just to get it done. The game has that fast-paced madness that both versions of Doom feature, and I am getting a little too old for too much anxiety and excitement. So you can easily play through the game on medium or easy and have a good laugh, not stressing too much, or if you are a tough veteran FPS player, then you can go all the way to Exterminatus to really test your mettle. One thing I would say is that perhaps some of the levels are a little too long, and a few times I got lost trying to figure out where I was supposed to go. This is likely down to my own noobishness, of course, but I would have appreciated some of the levels be just a little bit shorter to not feel like a little bit of a slog. Ultimately, I would recommend this game to anyone that enjoys FPS games, both retro and new. The game here, at its heart, is a most solid and well executed shooter, with tight controls, fun gameplay and a gripping setting. I think anyone who's into this genre will appreciate the game, even if you have no interest in Warhammer 40,000. It is over the top and ridiculous in a very good way. It is under £20 at its normal price, which is really nice, and is available on Steam now. Go check it out. And there we go, dear viewers, another video done. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for watching this far, and I will see you next time.